Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And we are back again. Heroes Jubilee 39 Catalyst. You know, the last Jubilee Blitz we could not use EX characters, and now we have the full run. And definitely the scores will reflect such things. So this is going to be the first of 5 videos. This will be focused on normal battle 1, and as you can see, all the normal battles are maxed out for me, along with a lot of the other sweaty tryhards. So, I mean, I will show you the team to max every single one of these out, and then I will show you a bunch of other alternate teams. But, you know, disclaimer number 1 is that your box will vary, your results may vary. You know, I've got skill fuse units, I've got dupes, I've got the entire, every single unit ever released, so you have to take what this video is and use it as a guide and then build the team, based on how you have your box set up. So, results will vary. Disclaimer number 2 is that these are the characters I use for protection gauge, and these are the characters I use for skill points. I believe I use all of them, both versions in every single stage, I think. So there you go. And then disclaimer number 3 is don't forget to go into your Town of Tempest and optimize your wind building, so your wind nuker can do as much damage as possible for normal battle 1. But let's go ahead and jump in. Alright, so the max score team looks like this. We've got Velzard, Veldora, Guy, skill fused Water Soe. He does have to be skill fused. We're running him and Milim for skill points, and because he's a frontline unit, it works well, and we can still use 2 of the big 3 units. And then we've just got Space Milim in there. We've got Violet, and then we've got the new Milim. So she's going to just single target this, and as long as you can do 1.4 million, which she's certainly capable of doing, and take, less than, like 5 damage or something like that, then you will get a max score. So it's fairly simple. Also, get used to seeing Soe, because not only is he used for the max score on normal 1, he's also used for the max score on normal 3. So, I mean, if he's not skill fused, then, you could still use him, right? He still has his defense, but he loses the attack nerf, I believe. And it's only for, 1 turn, I think. So, there's a few differences here. But, turn 1, you've got Veldora, we've got him and Guy in the first slots, so we can use the orb change. Very, very good. Milim comes in for Veldora, and then we're going to use the Soe defense skill to nerf all 3 spiders, and then bring our defense up. Now, we're going to kill this left spider first, because before he attacks, he gives himself guaranteed pierce, and that is bad. You don't want to pierce here, because they will get through the defense and everything, so he must die. The other, he gets a crit, it doesn't matter. The other one gets an attack buff, and, depending... Alright, so that wasn't a great turn, because we took that damage right there. We took 190, so we ideally only want to take 1. So let's go ahead and cut and figure that out. Alright, so we're back again. We're just going to fast forward. Alright, so again, use the skill fusion, or use the orb change, use the defense skill, while Milim and Guy are up here. Kill the left spider. So this is, the difference between having him hit, Soe versus having him hit one of the other units that has the extra defense and stuff from the Velzard Protector. So the crit again comes in. Even there, it's only 1, but now 1 damage against Milim. Type disadvantage for the spider. That works. Turn 2, gonna use the Guy ult rush. You don't need an EX ult for Milim. Between Guy and her and Violet's buffs, she does overcap anyways. So just 1 ult is fine. She's going to come out now for Veldora, and then we will reuse the defense skill to make sure that now Veldora has that defense buff, and then we'll use Velzard, and we'll also use the green buff, I believe, because we need another Velzard. We don't have to. I might not here. We might still get points anyways. So, it helps, because it's a magic nerf on a single person too. So now we're going to kill the spider with the attack buff. Guy, he's got the buff now. He's going to do a lot of damage. There we go. So now we've taken out the pierce one. We've taken out the one that raises its attack, which leaves just the weakest spider to nuke out of existence. And, you know, we could have used the magic debuff as well from Veldora on that middle spider and would have just gotten us more damage, but as you're about to see, it's pretty unnecessary because we're just going to kill it. So the 80-point buff, the synergy, the personal buff, and then the Velzard's going to come in, and we're going to do like 1.5 or 6 or something like that. If you get the EX ult, it's even more. If you put the magic debuff on, it's even more. 1.8, yeah, perfectly fine right there. So we took 1 damage throughout the entire fight. We continually took out the spiders as we needed to. We took 3 damage. So there we go. That's the max team. The max cap is 1.4 million, so obviously over that. That's how you get the max score. But let's move on to some alternate teams now. Alright, the second alternate team is using the World of Fantasy Shizu and the World of Fantasy Frey to go ahead and nuke this stage. Now, Shizu is physical, so she gets that kind of debuff on because they have physical resistance. She is magic, though. And by being physical, we will get the guaranteed crits from Frey. We've got skill-fused Wind Milim for her ult damage plus Wind allies crit damage, and since we're getting crit from Frey, that will work. Hinata's here to steal orbs. Isis is here for turn 1. We're again using the skill point units, so Milim and Lumi are up front, so we can start with 42, which means we can use both of Isis's skills turn 1. And then Overlord Shizu's here for additional damage. So let's make a cut and find the right clip. Alright. So this team is also fairly simple. We're using Hinata to steal, so we can, you know, eliminate a lot of RNG, because, you know, the charm that we have on for this run is alt gauge on greens, because we need the EX alt, and there's not really a good way to rush it, except for stealing a whole bunch of buffed up greens. So Hinata goes to the back, we'll send these orbs, and since we're now trying to AoE, and we're not going for, you know, the max score, we're going to spread the damage out a bit. So we're going to take damage. It's fine. You know, the first team is the max score team. If you don't have access to it, you can run a semblance of it. You'll still probably take damage. And if you don't have those specific units, you can, you know, use this team, and it'll get you a pretty decent score. But here, you know, we've got 4 Ice Orbs. The green buff is active. Cool. Hinata comes in. We're going to steal. And now we're going to swap her out for Shizu, which you would think you'd want to use Frey first because the crits and everything, and we're going to use the attack buff and the green damage buff. So, I mean, or gauge increase, sorry. No, Milim has the damage buff. Fantasy Milim does, never mind. But still, we do want to lower the spiders down, and we do not do quite enough damage. If there's like a lucky extra pierce or synergy in there, they will die. But we'll spread the damage even more. That gets her EX ult, max points, another Frey. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can see that spider on the right is really, really low. So at this point, like, counterattacks, also not something you really want to see. But, I mean, we didn't take that much damage right there. But now we're ready to nuke. So there's the weakness strike and ult resistance down. We'll use Frey. Will give us the guaranteed crits. And then that gives us 40 skill points to use Milim's ult buff and crit damage skill. And then we can't send anything else. So, well, 13k, we can send 1 Milim orb because she doesn't have the guaranteed crits. So 1 Milim, and then we'll nuke with Shizu. So boom, 10k. And Shizu does 321, 3 around there. Not quite damage cap, but it's still a pretty respectable score for going, you know, not super weak point with a physical unit. So that is also a pretty good score right there. Alright, the next team is going to use the New Year's team, mostly. Xion, we've got 2nd Anniversary Hinata, free-to-play Diablo, Shinsha, Isis again for the turn 1, and then we've got New Year's Milim, who is a wind AoE character. Yet again, another physical character, but she can do it. But with a disclaimer that this is a turn 4 team, because I want to hit damage cap, but I don't have quite enough points to do that. So I have to go another turn in order to stack up the extra 30 from Xion. So, I mean, this team can hit 1.4 million, it just won't get the max turn bonus. Alright, so we're not using the skill point units on turn 1, we're going for max protection gauge. So on turn 1, Isis will come in, and to supplement that, we've got Dark Lumi underneath her. So we'll get protection gauge for the first couple turns, you know, that she's up here. So not this turn, but the next 2. So orb change with Isis, boom, full hand of greens will bring Milim in. And since we have Diablo and we have an entire front line of New Year's characters, that means that on turn 2, ideally, you'll have at least 3 Milim orbs, and you can just use Diablo to give the other 3 orbs away to her. And that's what's going to guarantee that we can get, the EX ult, or some way around it. Which here, we have 4 Milim orbs. Great. So boom, boom, the Pierce there. Alright, cool, fine. Again, this isn't like the max score team. We got 122 points. We'll use the giveaway. Awesome. And then let's take a look at how much gauge this gets us. Alright, so not quite enough, unfortunately. But it is fine. Because we're going an extra turn, we don't need to have the EX ult right here, right now. And it's actually better that we don't use Xion, because otherwise we would just straight up kill these things. So we really don't want to do that. So here, alright. Now we gotta make it. So we need 160 points to do what we need. And we only need, a little bit of gauge for Milim. So this is a giveaway turn right here. And depending on what we do, we can just get another Xion back next turn. So we're going to use it in here, but we're only going to send a few orbs, because I don't want to do too much damage, because everyone has crit and synergy right now. I just want enough to get Milim's EX ult and a Xion protector, and I don't want to use any points. So now, after the passive skill from Xion activates, we'll have 160, and that will guarantee that we can do enough damage here. So there's the EX ult. So Milim buff, Shinsha buff, the Diablo crit resistance debuff, and then that gives us exactly, I believe, 40 points, yep, to use Hinata's skill to come in. We would be short on damage. We could use the debuffs and the New Year's buffs, but we couldn't use Hinata buff, and we don't hit 1.4. So that's why we have to go an extra turn to get those extra 30 points. So 547, 302 over there because he's got extra defense now on turn 4. It's still enough damage between the two that we do 1.4, and so there we go. We got, not a lot of damage taken. We got the max weakness strike, but again, we lost the turn bonus. 59k, I mean, it's still fine. It's still a fine score if you have access to this. All right, the final team. The final team, we need a wind magic character. Vengeance Shuna is a wind magic character, and Vengeance Velzard does give us that extra 60% damage increase against water enemies. So while this is a defensively focused protector, for Vengeance, and Vengeance Shuna is just in that weird spot where she's not good for either of it, we're going to make her work here. Bride Shuna is going to act like what Hinata did for the Milim, or not the Milim ult, but the Shizu ult, and just steal orbs. It's also giving an extra 5% buff to Sokka's attack buff. We've got Rain's debuff, or buff and debuff, and if it's within 3 turns, it's 40% up and 20% down. And then Shuna has her own ult rush capability and the stat swap and wind power. So I mean, it's not a great team by any means, but it is a team with a wind magic nuker, and it's single target again, so you can go ahead and kill the other spiders if you so choose to take less damage. It's just you're not going to hit the damage cap with this team. It simply does not do enough. Again, we've got Isis here for turn 1. We don't have the skill point unit, so we're just going to use the orb change here. Shuna goes into the back so we can steal orbs for Vengeance Shuna on next turn. So we'll just go ahead and send this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sokka will do extra damage because she's wind magic as well. It's not enough to kill. I don't know if I have attack gear on these guys, but honestly, if you're using this team, it doesn't really matter. So it looks like Sokka has the most orbs here with 3, and we just need somebody with 3 orbs. It really doesn't matter who. So as long as you get 3 orbs for somebody, Bride Shuna will come in, and we'll yoink those away, and then we'll bring in Vengeance Shuna. So also here, because we have the points, we're going to use the Rain buff, not the Isis debuff, because I don't want to nerf the orange orbs. I want just a green buff across the board. So here, we'll use, no, not the stat swap. We'll use Vengeance to rush our ult, so 50% ult gauge right there. Perfect. Oh, we don't use it. Surprising. Okay. I thought I would. But that's enough to get us the EX ult and also take out 2 of the spiders. So I mean, we got max points because of Velzard's skill, where she gives, you know, green orbs that 250% skill point increase. So we didn't really need to use the green gauge, and we don't need another Velzard use right here. So now, rain buff, the stat swap, and now we'll bring Ahsoka in for her, I think it's like a 30% attack buff, maybe 35? 35, okay. So lots of small buffs. You know, Shuna has a lot of defense, which converts into attack. She gives herself that wind buff, and now we do 333 with her, which again, you know, is a far cry from 1.4 million, but this is a very janky team using a Vengeance Protector, so it is what it is. But, I mean, there are other teams you can use that are wind-focused that you can attempt to nuke with this. This is just, you know, the fun ones and the max score one that I thought of. So, you know, again, use what you've got available and just use it as a guide. But if you have any other teams that players can, you know, pick from, please let me know in the comments so they can see those too. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.